Hi, boys and girls. Today's Constitution Day, and you might be thinking, what is that? Well, the Constitution is actually a set of rules that guide how our country is supposed to work. Now, before we had a constitution, our founding fathers looked around and they noticed that all the states were just doing basically whatever they wanted to do. In one state, it might be okay to do one thing, but in another state, it maybe wasn't okay. So we needed to have a constitution, kind of like a framework, a plan for how the government, how the whole country should work. And they created the Constitution, and it sets up certain things like the distribution of like how powerful the government should be. Now, I want you to think about for just a second what it would be like if we didn't have any rules. For example, driving. What if we didn't have any rules about driving? So, what if when your parents get in the car, they could drive on either side of the road? What if they didn't have to wear their seatbelt? Or what if they could drive as fast or as slow as they wanted? How would that work? Would driving be very safe? No, not really. It wouldn't be very safe. Thank goodness we have rules for driving, and those rules keep the rest of us safe. We all know when we get in the car which side of the road to drive on. We have speed limit signs that tell us how fast or how slow to drive, and we know that it's a law that we have to wear our seatbelt. And those were all created just with safety in mind, so people know what to do. And that's the same thing with the Constitution. It was created with the idea that all people need to know what to do and how our government is going to work. And so that's why our founding fathers signed it this day in 1787. Now, I'm going to share with you a story that's found on Raz Kids. Raz Kids is a app that you have access to through Clever, and this story is called The Creature Constitution. I've actually loaded it in Raz Kids for you, so if you would actually go to Clever and click on Raz Kids, it would take you to the site, and from there, you'll notice I assigned this book. So if you, just to make it easy, you don't actually have to get on there, you can just listen to me today. But if you want to check out the Creature Constitution, it's already in there for you today. All right. Well, listen as the animals try to decide what to do when everybody's kind of doing their own thing and there's no rules. Here's the story. Independence Hall, Philadelphia, 1786. None of the creatures in the hall were able to sleep. Every night, the mice would run through the spiders' webs. Then the spiders would chase the mice. The crickets would chirp all night. The pigeons in the clock tower would start singing early in the morning. Everyone was tired and unhappy. Notice everybody's doing whatever they want. Maddie the mouse had the biggest ears in the hall. She heard everything. She worried that no one would ever sleep. Then the humans began meeting in the hall. Maddie sneaked into the room and listened as they talked. They needed something with rules that everyone would follow. They called it a constitution. Maddie thought a constitution was a great idea. She called a meeting. Every creature came. There were so many animals that they could barely move. The humans have a great idea, Maddie said. They are writing a constitution. We should have our own constitution. What's a constitution? Asked a pigeon. It's a list of rules for us to follow, for us to live by, Maddie said. We need rules so we can all sleep. All the creatures agreed. There are too many of us to talk about the rules right now, Maddie said. Each group should pick 5 creatures to talk for them at a meeting tomorrow. They will decide what the new rules will be. And that happened to our founding fathers when they were trying to form the Constitution. You can't bring everybody in America into one room in order to figure out what the Constitution should be. So only certain people were sent to this Constitution convention in order to form the Constitution. It only makes sense. So they just had certain people go to represent everyone else. The groups each went back to where they lived. They picked animals to speak for their group, just like the people did. The next day, the chosen creatures met. Everyone listened to each other's problems. When the group started to argue, Maddie reminded them to work together. Each group then shared the rules that they thought would let everyone sleep better. They came up with rules that everyone could agree on. Maddie had found a way for them to all work together. The creatures asked Maddie to be their leader. They would bring new problems to Maddie and the other groups. The night they signed their constitution, the creatures in the building all had a good night's sleep. And that's the end. And here's a glossary of some words that maybe you would say, oh, what does that word mean? Like, what does constitution mean? The basic laws of a state or a nation that tell how the government is run. So you can look at that in order to see some of those vocab words. All right. Well, I hope you liked your story, The Creature Constitution. I'm also going to add a few videos that explain the Constitution, or they're just kind of like fun videos about the Constitution. So check those out too. There's one called We the Kids, which is about the preamble to the Constitution. It actually is the beginning of the Constitution. It starts it out. So I think that one, check out the pictures because the pictures really explain the story. All right. Bye for now, friends.